Welcome back to Casual Bias Rugby. It is the Rugby World Cup final match preview between South Africa versus New Zealand. I haven't done a video today reacting to the lineups, okay? So we'll react to the lineups, do a comparison between the two teams where each team could get their advantages, look at the history between the two teams, like the past 5 games, and then of course at the end we'll have our official prediction. Of course, in this video, I'll pose a couple of questions. I want to get your insight. As you know, this is an interactive channel. Get in the comments. Tell me what you think about it all. I'll try and be as unbiased as I possibly can. I'm wearing black today, but I'll be wearing green on Saturday because, you know, I'm a cocky, arrogant South African. It's one of those things. But as I said, I love New Zealand and I love my country, South Africa. Of course, I'm backing my boys. But I want to hear your thoughts. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get into it. Starting off, just looking at the history between the two teams, we'll just look at the past 5 games. And South Africa surprisingly has the upper hand. It will mean absolutely nothing in the Rugby World Cup final. But in the past 5 games, South Africa's won 3 of them, and New Zealand has won 2. Of course, before the Twickenham game, it was 2-2 going into the 5th. So the 5th game from last was in the Gold Coast in Australia in the Rugby Championship. South Africa victors 31-29 over New Zealand. Of course, that came with a penalty right at the end of the game in front of the post. After we lost the first leg, the game afterwards, that was at the Mbella Stadium out here in South Africa. 26-10 victors South Africa, and we thought we were going to run through New Zealand in the game afterwards, and we got absolutely smashed 35-23 in Johannesburg at Ellis Park. And then earlier in the year, 15th of July, in the Rugby Championship, again New Zealand came out victors 35-20. They absolutely blitzed us in those first 20 minutes. The game was done and dusted there. I know people say we made a comeback and stuff here at the end, but the scoreline, in my opinion, reflects that game. I think New Zealand absolutely dominated us. I think in the first 20 minutes it was like 18-0 or something, which was absolutely ridiculous. I thought there's another 50 points margin, 60 points margin victory for New Zealand there. And then, of course, we made the comeback victory where most New Zealanders will probably say it was only a friendly, where South Africa dominated and got the victory 35-7. In my opinion, I don't think that it was a friendly at all. It was a Rugby World Cup warm-up match. Both teams, I think it was the final match before the Rugby World Cup for both teams. So you wanted that momentum going into the final. So I'm not taking any friendly stuff. South Africa won that game. Of course, both teams played a bit of a rotation team. But it is what it is. It's not going to make a difference, and it's not going to be a blowout victory in the final. Whoever wins, it's going to be a close game. It's the biggest game in rugby by far, and surely it has to be up there in the top 3 to top 5 rivalries in sport in general. It could probably be like 2nd or 3rd place, and I'm not even kidding. So now we're moving to France, the start of France Rugby World Cup final. Boys, I am so excited for this game, like you don't understand. I'm very nervous. I'm absolutely shitting it at the moment. I'm pretty sure the All Blacks fans as well, the Kiwis are shitting it as well. Because this game is always, you never know who's going to take it. Except for when we play in Auckland. Because New Zealand always wins in Auckland. But a Rugby World Cup final, you know, form goes out of the window. New Zealand probably looked like the better team this far throughout the World Cup. Of course, I would think South Africa had a bit of a tougher run, and that's not being biased. I just think pool of death, and then having a fired up England and the hosts, we might be gassed out, but I think the boys will have one last good performance in there. If we win or lose, they'll give it everything. So without any further ado, let's look at the lineups and where the matchups will be interesting. Both teams, the front rows, starting off, you got Stephen Kitsoff, Bongi Manambi and Frans Malherbe going up against Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax. Of course, I think Stephen Kitsoff, just on face value, you'd probably say South Africa has the better, or has the upper hand when it comes to the front row. But Kitsie has been struggling a bit, to be honest, the past couple of games. I think is he worn out at the moment, but tired. I'm not too sure, but you don't see Kitshoff having 3 bad games in a row. Never mind 2 bad games in a row. And I think he'll be up for it. We have trust in our bench to do the job. These guys know it's up to them to keep New Zealand quiet and keep the game tight for that first 40 to 50 minutes, especially in the first 20. New Zealand will probably come out blitzing, and it's our job to keep that game tight. Ethan de Groot and Tyra Lomax both have been so impressive from the Rugby Championship even throughout the World Cup until now. They've really stood their ground against every team. They dominated Argentina at scrum time. The whole All Blacks team actually dominated Argentina, but that's going to be a fierce battle. Ethan de Groot going up against Frans Malherbe and Steven Kitshoff going against Tyrell Lomax. It will be very interesting to see what happens at scrum time. We know the physicality is usually on our side, but I mean you can't do anything other than respect the physicality of New Zealand at the moment. And then of course you got Bongi Mbonambi, who's been caught in a bit of controversy. We're not going to speak about that. Up against Cody Taylor, the experienced man. So the front row is very even. Usually you'd say South Africa has this, and usually you'd say South Africa has the forward back, and New Zealand has the back line. But it's so even, and when I say even, I mean even the players in the back line. Moving on, you got Eben Etzebeth and Franco Mostert going up against Brodie Retallick and Scott Barrett. I mean, it's the perfect matchups for this game. Literally, the front three match each other brilliantly. Brodie Retallick and Eben Etzebeth, there's a big debate about who's the best lock to ever do it, and both of them are playing this game going up against each other. And then you've got Franco Mostert, who's been absolutely unreal, against Scott Barrett, who's probably the best lock in the world at the moment. It's insane matchups these. This is like a coin toss at the moment. Of course, I believe Eben Etzebeth is the best lock to ever do it, with Brodie Retallick shortly behind him, and then Sam Whitelock. But other people might even have Sam Whitelock in that first position. So it's all up for debate, and I love it. This is absolutely brilliant. Of course, moving on to the Lucies, you got Siya Kolisi, Pieter Steph de Toy, and Dwayne Vermeulen going up against Shannon Frizzell, Sam Kane, and Adi Savia. Well done, by the way, to Adi Savia for getting nominated for Player of the Year. I think it's between him and Eben Etzebeth. Whoever wins the Rugby World Cup, between those two, they'll get the Player of the Year. It's so, like, I know Sam Kane is good, but there's a lot of people that don't necessarily respect what he does. But the game he put up against Ireland, when it comes to the big games, he's just always there. He makes crazy tackles. Of course, I slated Shannon Frizzell before the game at Mount Smart, and he absolutely destroyed us. I think Willie Leroux might still be in the grass somewhere there, the way he ran over him. And of course, Siya Kolisi, he needs to step up for us. He's had a couple of quiet games. As I tell people, on form, probably Kwagga deserves to start. Even Marco van Staden has a shout above Siya Kolisi, just on pure form and the way they play the game. But I think mentally for our boys, having Siya Kolisi there with his leadership, his presence on the field, knowing he can pull a performance out of nothing, is so big for our mindset going into that game. Just look at the game before Wales. You could say we scraped a couple of victories. Look at the Argentina performances. Look at the way we played against New Zealand in the Mount Smart game. And then as soon as Siya Kolisi came back, it just looked like our whole aura changed. So that will be a big matchup, with Siya Kolisi going up against Shannon Frizzell, Sam Kane going up against Pieter Steph de Toy, who I still believe is one of the most underappreciated players in the Bok jersey. He's just ruthless. He just doesn't get tired. It's a brilliant matchup. And then of course you got the experience of Dwayne Vermeulen. I predicted Jasper Wiese to get the start, just because I didn't think Dwayne Vermeulen can play 3 physical games in a row. But the coaches are backing him, and of course they know way more about the team and the game than myself. I'm just a guy sitting on the couch watching the game and making some videos about it. And of course, Adi Savia, who in my opinion has been the best player in the world, best player for the All Blacks for the longest time, and the best player in the world in my opinion, for for a couple of years. He's been absolutely insane. I've got nothing but respect for the guy. The way he carries the ball, his tackles, the way he works at the ruck, he makes crucial turnovers at crucial points of the game. Jeez, the whole forwards battle is just absolutely insane. So the questions that I have for you when it comes to the front line: who has the upper hand when it comes to the scrum time before the bench comes on? And the second question is, who's got the better locks? And I'm talking, if you had to play this game tomorrow, who is the 2 locks you're picking? If you had to pick a mixture even, who's the 2 locks that you would pick? I would personally, on current form, go with Eben Etzebeth and Scott Barrett. Let me know what you think about that. Moving on to the back line, you've got the best 9 to ever do it. I don't want to hear any other debates. Everyone's talking about DuPont and stuff. You've got the guy that pocketed DuPont in Aaron Smith and Richie Muanga, the best 10 at the moment in the world. That is a scary combination. Aaron Smith, very under the radar at the moment. Has to be up there for player of the tournament this far. The guy's been insane. And I mean, we were all talking about Cam Roygard. Of course, he wasn't going to lose his position to Cam Roygard. But I mean, how have you outshone Cam Roygard, who's been a revelation, in my opinion? They're going up against the experienced Faf de Klerk and Andre Pollard, who won us the previous World Cup. So no Kobus Reinach and no Mani Libbok. I feel it's very, very harsh on the two of them. Especially Mani Libbok. I know Kobus Reinach has been absolutely brilliant, but Mani has, I wouldn't say he's carried us, but he's had one bad game. One bad game, and it's like, okay, out of the team. I would have preferred if I had him on the bench instead of Willie. I know I'm skipping a few beats here, but he just brings a different dynamic to the game. But I mean, the weather and the big game, I can't blame it too much, but I would have really have loved to see Mani. I hope this doesn't kill his confidence, but that's a very good matchup. You know, if that matchup with Faf and Andre there, New Zealand are going to have to catch some eyeballs because we're bombing that shit, okay? Anyway, moving on to the centers, you got Damian Dealinda and Jesse Creel. No surprises there. The two has been absolutely brilliant. Of course, they had an off weekend last weekend, and I mean, like, they almost had a bye because they didn't have to do anything because no backline players were used in the game against England last weekend versus Jordy Barrett and Rico Ioane, who's been absolutely brilliant. I don't know how much we're going to see about the backline either in this game. I think New Zealand will try and get that ball wide, speed up the game, and will try and keep it tight. And keep it as compact as possible and absolutely drain penalties. That's the game plan. It feels like that's going to be the game plan because New Zealand will try and tire out our forwards, especially knowing we've got 7 of them on the bench. Moving to the back 3, and this is a very interesting battle. This is the third question on the table. Who's got the upper hand when it comes to the back 3? Mark Delia, Will Jordan, and Bowden Barrett versus Cheslin Colby, Kurtley Arons, and Damian Willemse. Wow, absolutely insane. You've got absolute speedsters and players that can create something out of nothing in both back threes. Both of them absolutely lethal. You know, Will Jordan and Mark Delia will be tested under the high ball, and I'm pretty sure Cheslin Colby and Kurtley Arons will make a lot of tackles in this game because New Zealand is one of the teams that get the ball most to their wingers to create absolute chaos. Moving on to the benches, and this is the big surprise. South Africa went for the 7-1 split. We've got Dion Fourie, the Mr. Fine Wine himself. The guy has been absolutely insane for us. Oxenchair, the steamroller. You know, Salads doesn't win scrum penalties. So, and then Trevor Nyakane, who's coming in for Vincent Koch. I'm not too sure. Is Vincent Koch dropped or is he injured? Because it feels weird because he's been absolutely brilliant coming from the bench. I've got no issues with Trevor at all, but I just find it odd that there's no Vincent Koch. And then, of course, the first Irishman to play in a game after the quarterfinal, John Klein, and R.G. Snyman, and Kwagga Smith, and Jasper Wiese. I mean, it's just crazy. That is some forward pack to bring up. Of course, most people would make the joke. The two best pairs of forwards both playing in this game, South Africa A and South Africa B, and then you got the third best as well with New Zealand coming in. But of course, that's just a joke. You have to put respect on New Zealand's name. And then Willie Leroux, the utility, I would say the utility back on the bench, but he'll probably just come on for Damian Willemse. Now, this is very risky. We cannot afford to get any injuries in this game. Moving on to the bench of New Zealand, you got Samisoni Takiao, Tamaiti Williams, the youngster, and Nepo Lulala. Now, I know everything has been close, and I do rate all three of those guys. They've got a lot of years of rugby still in them, but I have to give the advantage to South Africa there again. I forgot to say, I give the advantage to New Zealand when it comes to the back line, because they're just scary, okay? But those three, I think our three boys that come from the bench, they will most probably get the upper hand. But I think this is where New Zealand already feel that they should have a significant lead, and those boys will just have to be there to see it out and not give away too many penalties for us to get back into the game. That's what I think New Zealand's game plan will be. Of course, bringing on the experience as well from the bench with Sam Whitelock and Dalton Papali'i. Two absolutely brilliant players. But I don't know. Do you agree with the 5-3 split, or do you think New Zealand has missed a trick and maybe should have played just an extra forward? Maybe took out Anton Leonard-Brown and thrown in another, like a Tupu Vai. I'm not sure if he's injured or whatever. I'm just the first player that came to my mind. Maybe thrown him in extra just to change things a bit. Of course, Finlay Christie and Damian McKenzie. Damian McKenzie has been sensational since the start of the Super Rugby's. It's almost like he's a new player coming on. So overall, those are the two teams and the brilliant matchups. I'm so excited for this game. Oh my goodness, I'm already shivering. Just the thought of it, it's a history-making game. For South Africa, it's the first team to ever win 4 Rugby World Cups, the second team ever to win 2 Rugby World Cups in a row. And then from a New Zealand perspective, the first team ever to win 4 Rugby World Cups in a row. And who better to defend your record of the only team to win 2 Rugby World Cups in a row than your arch nemesis, South Africa? It's an absolutely brilliant game. I've got respect for New Zealand. But after all, with the predictions, I'm backing my boys. And I don't expect New Zealanders to say they think South Africa is going to win. You have to back your team in this one. I'm going Boks by 5 points. I think it's going to be an absolutely brutal game. It's going to be a physical game. Everyone's going to leave everything out there. It's for a whole lot of players, it is their final game in the South African or the All Blacks jersey, and for a lot of people it might be their final game in that jersey. So they'll leave it all out on the field. I'm so excited for this one, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.